Harrison, it's a pleasure.
Well, last night was a huge night for you. Big speech at the DNC. It's got to feel amazing being up there surrounded by all of those supporters chanting your name, knowing that you have been chosen by them to represent America. It's got to be weighty. It's got to be powerful. Is it the same feeling knowing that you were placed there on high from some sort of shadowy cabal? Do you still get the feeling of acceptance and celebration and power, knowing how you sort of got there in the first place?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Shooting up is shooting up, right? So, that thrill is still there. And I feel so powerful when I just see all these people chanting. And, they're all under such strict guidelines. They're not allowed to say anything nasty. I even made sure, and I don't know if you caught it, but I made sure that Kerry Washington came out and gave a lesson to say my name correctly. And, that should be telling to the nation of how, I run a tight ship. So, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I eat no for breakfast. And, it's very dictatorship worthy, right?
Right. I can see that because obviously if you're going to be under a dictatorship, you'd want somebody like Kamala Harris. It's a great point. And obviously your husband, Doug, was there. You called him Dougie on stage. It was your 10th anniversary. Congratulations for that. How does he feel as the second gentleman? Does he like being referred to as the second gentleman?
He's always been my bitch, so he loves that, and this doesn't really change anything in our dynamic, because he's always just done what I say, and Dougie's such a good boy. He's one of my favorite little puppies. He's a good boy. He listens. He's told. He does what he's told, I should say, and yeah, he's been very supportive of this role. He doesn't mess with me. I'll say it like that. My bark is a lot worse than my bite.
Yeah, and I've noticed that you chose your vice president sort of along the same lines. It seems like the Democrats are really putting a lot of effort into cornering the boomer cuck. Soy boy beta demographic. Is that a strategic choice for you because of the numbers?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Tim is just like Joe, but he's actually easier to control. Joe had impulse control issues. He had necessities with his gastro. It was so ridiculous. Things would get so interrupted. He had no control of his bowels. And, Tim just brings this energy that we really need. But he's also a very good boy, very, very much similar to Dougie. So I think that both of these gentlemen will be very easy to control and manipulate.
And have you found that positive reinforcement works? Like, do you reward them with treats, or is it more of a negative reinforcement, bop on the head with a newspaper when they get out of line?
Yeah, we're a negative reinforcement family. That's the way it's always been. Yes.
Because you got to be the leader of the pack, obviously.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and we know that you can do it. Now there have been some nasty rumors. I'm sorry to even have to bring this up, but there's been some frankly insulting and offensive misinformation from the Trump campaign that you're constantly drunk on alcohol. Can we just put this to rest? Do you drink alcohol, or is it the blood of saints that you're drunk on?
I don't feel like I really have to disclose, what I do on my free time. But, we are the joyful party. And what do joyful people do? We drink, we have a good time. Sometimes that's why there's bags in the White House, right? There was that one time where we left it behind. Usually we're very good with doing sweeps after our parties, but I don't see anything wrong with it. These events are boring. And if I'm being honest with you, I was told that I would get sort of the same sweetheart deal as Joe. He gets to go to the beach. He gets to, lay there every single weekend. Yeah, I wouldn't pick Delaware, personally speaking. But, I don't think there's anything wrong with knocking back a few after a hard day's work.
Or after a day on the beach. I think that's perfectly natural. I think that resonates with most Americans. And obviously, there's been so much bitterness in the past. And in fact, you noted this in your speech yesterday. Our nation with this election has a precious, fleeting opportunity to move past the bitterness, cynicism, and divisive battles of the past, a chance to chart a new way forward, not as members of one party or faction, but as Americans. I think Americans need this unifying message. Can you expand a little bit on that? I mean, how do we unify when, as you have made very clear, Trump and his supporters are domestic terrorists that must be destroyed? How do you overcome that and unify?
Well, you manufacture things. Good PR. Did you notice how many American flags were in attendance last night? If you notice, we're not very patriotic until we need to be. So, everything that you saw, these are very strategic maneuvers that are, to be quite honest, they're above your pay grade over there at InfoWars, right? So if you would be running for office, you would understand what I'm talking about. Your boss understands what I'm talking about, but we're not going to go there. I'll tell you like this. We have been so un-American. We've been anti-American. But, now that I need the votes, that's how we unify. That's how we unify. So we want that patriotic feeling back. And I don't know if you caught this yesterday, but there was a gentleman that had a moment on the mic where he said, 70 days, ladies and gentlemen, we have to be normal. And then we can go right back to crazy. And, you just have to be realistic with the way these things work. So, yesterday was just a full-blown show. And they ate it up. Hook, line, and sinker. I think I'm even going to get the Jewish vote.
It's very impressive the way you're able to pull these switches off. It's really incredible. And obviously you're the champion of women's rights, the right to get an abortion, the right to. I think that's it. Actually, I think that's the one that you're going for. This makes you sort of the champion of women, in particular women who know how to enjoy themselves, right? In a way, you're sort of like the champion of the mother of harlots in a way, if you'll excuse the phrasing. Is that how you see yourself, or how are you pitching yourself here?
Well, look, Harrison, I'll tell you like this, right? People don't understand this. I want people to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say, because I want to be clear. If you notice types of music that Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, Beyonce, and the rhetoric that they surround themselves with, well, they're always pushing women to, get that bag and take those clothes off. And, that's what we want. We want them to stay entertained, mindless, with baby daddies, flying in and out. But if you look at those women when they're not performing, most of them are married with children, right? So, it's the same concept. Do as I say, not as I do. And that's how we roll with things here. So, I know what the people want, right? I'm not going to sit here and hire musicians that are going to try to make the youth better and smarter. We don't want that. We want people that listen to orders. We want people that are going to be under our control and influence. If I need to snatch a patent away, I'll just snatch that right away for the good of the country. If I need to take your guns, I'll snatch them too. And before you ask, yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. So, if you want to call me the queen of harlots, I will wear that as a badge of honor, because that's what this country is about. We are living in a full-blown coliseum, and I will be in charge of all those gladiators.
Power. And as we know, power is the sort of the point of existence, right? I mean, what is life without power? And how can...
Absolutely. And, you asked me about drinking. I'm drunk on power and other things, right? So power, that feeling, I could wipe my pen and put someone away. And I'm going to, that's going to be on steroids, when I finally get into office. So, be aware of who you vote for.
Yeah, so in that case, Democrats sort of get to live vicariously through you, in this fulfilling the fantasy of having inordinate power to punish people for thinking incorrectly. That can be a boost. Just waking up in the morning knowing that somebody's in charge with this vindictive streak.
The best part is, behaving this way. But this is the kicker. Are you ready?
Give me.
We're telling the voters that Trump is the one that's going to do all this. Everything that we say that we're not going to do, we just blame it on Trump, and they eat it up. They eat it up. I've had the most fun that I've ever had in the past few weeks. I mean, everything that I say, these people just eat it up. So, that's the kicker here. Take all the power, pretend you're for the people, blame Trump for everything. We made him the entire theme of the event, and, I think it's working.
Oh my God.
I think it's really amazing, and you're helping to correct the false image a lot of people have about a lot of things. For example, for so long in America, it's been pitched that having a stable family with your parents at home and being raised in a Christian community, these things have been portrayed as some sort of strength in the past. You're helping people to realize that having an intact family or being raised in a safe community, that's an unfair advantage that some people have over others. And the only way to have equity and equality is to make sure that people don't get to enjoy the benefits of intergenerational wealth. That's unfair. And you're bringing fairness back into the conversation. And I think that's great because for so long people have seen these things as good when we know that they are in fact unfair advantages that people have. And I really think you're doing a great job reorienting people's vision of America or the nuclear family or anything like that into understanding how unfair and bad it is that some people have these advantages. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned equity, and my entire campaign is run on equity, equality, and duality, right? So what's the duality of the situation here? The duality is that not everyone, and I used Christmas as an example recently, but, not everyone is fortunate. Yeah. So, when I'm in office, if I know of other kids that don't have the same fortitude as the other kids, we have to shut it all down across the board. I don't want anyone to feel bad. I don't want anyone to be sad on a holiday. So, the common sense thing is to, just rip it off from everyone. Nobody should have that right if a little kid at home can't celebrate Christmas. That's not fair. That's not fair. So, holidays most likely are going to get canceled. We're definitely going to have Kamala History Month, right? As the first Black president. We're also going to have another month designated for Indian Heritage Month, because I'm also Indian as well. And that's fair to celebrate because I will be president, right? But, anything else that other people, can't celebrate, well, that's just not fair for the Americans. And I want everyone to be clear about that. So Christmas is canceled, right?
Fuck you, Komical!
I think it's a great idea. I think Christmas is one of the first places where people encounter unfairness. When your sibling gets a present that you wanted, I think we all recognize that the impulse is to burn down the Christmas tree, and I think that's a correct, accurate, and moral impulse to have. Now, there's a video that came out yesterday. I think we have it here. People are making a big deal out of this. I don't want to make a big deal out of this. It's clip number 8. It's your running mate Tim Walz. And he seems to yank his cognitively disabled son pretty harshly. Now, some people are saying he was making sure he wasn't going to hit the teleprompter, but other people are suggesting that when it comes to the Democrats, you and Joe Biden and apparently Tim Walz now, that this appearance that you have of joy and helpfulness and love, they say it's all just a very thin veneer, and that you're all sort of simmering pots, and any sort of resistance or pushback against you just brings out this anger and fury and hatred. Can we just dispel this myth? I mean, what is it like behind the scenes with Kamala Harris?
When it comes to the yanking, right? Tim's had a hard week. He was really tired. He was starting to lose patience. And, children, sometimes they bring the worst out of us, right? But Tim's boy is a sweetheart. And, I am going to have a talk with Tim about this behind closed doors, right? I don't have children of my own. I've always found them a little snotty, and they were always in the way, and they can't really do anything for me. They can't vote yet. But, I will be speaking to Tim about that because we need to keep that cover tighter. He can't lose himself like that, So I've been trying to manufacture him as this like soccer dad and this like happy guy. I always tell him to flail his legs higher, right? I want the people to know what he can do, right? So, I'm definitely going to be speaking to him about that. All right. So, that was uncalled for. I didn't like it. If I'm being honest, I didn't like it. I don't refer to myself as like a mother of dragons kind of person. I'm more like Cersei. I mentioned that yesterday. But that did break me a little bit. The American people shouldn't be exposed to that, and he needs to practice some patience. So I'm going to talk to him, about just trying to hold it together. He's got to be a little more fake. But we just met, and he'll learn. I'll teach him. I'm really good at that.
Flailing his legs higher. All right. I'm sorry, I can't keep it together after telling him to flail his legs higher. Everyone, this is Esti Palti. She is by far the best Kamala impersonator out there. You can follow her on X, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at MommyRN88. You can support her and get high-quality American-made goods when you visit Switch to America with Esti, and that's ESTEE.com. Switch to America with Esti.com. ESTEE on X at MommyRN88 and on YouTube at MommyRN88. Esti, how did you discover this skill of yours in impersonating Kamala? Do you do a lot of impersonations, or how did you get started doing this?
I don't. I feel like you are watching me in real time, just kind of discover my comedic talents. But I've always kind of been quirky. I've always kind of jabbed with my friends when we're laughing and we're just hanging out. But I've told this story so many times. I hope it's not so repetitive to the listeners. It was just by accident. I downloaded TikTok during the pandemic out of sheer boredom, and I made a video. Someone said I sounded like her, and I did my attempt at the impression, and slowly but surely I really honed it down. And I said this on the Megyn Kelly show. I really stayed consistent with it simply just for the fact that I truly felt Biden's not going to make it 4 years. And I still believe that. I still believe we're going to see Harris in the presidential seat even before the election. That's why he's just kind of disappeared. So that's what happened. And I've rolled with it. I never, I'm a nurse. I have a full-blown career, but I'm kind of taking a stab at it. And if it's not to have fun, at the very least, to kind of expose her madness in this way, like we just did for the past 20 minutes, which I think was great.
Yeah, and it's fun because I do skits, and they make it easy. You don't have to actually come up with anything. You can actually just tell the truth about them, and it's so absurd. It's hilarious. It's
like new style that I've been trying out, and somehow it works because in the beginning it was like verbatim her speeches. I kind of just said word for word all the word vomit. But it gets boring. Even the viewers were like, "Oh my God!" Like Kamala just says the same thing over and over again. And I started making it my own. Just adding her voice and just saying all these ridiculous things. And I realized that even though I'm more coherent than her, because she doesn't ever really expose herself this much, I can really hone it down and make it sound like it's exactly like her. So, sorry to interrupt you, but before we do head out, if anybody wants to see incredible debates, I'm with the MAGA Meme Coin Project, and I can tell you guys right now that the Twitter Space debates are where it's at. We're going to have the second debate September 12th. It is going to be incredible. Because it's on Twitter Spaces, if you close your eyes, Harrison, it's going to literally sound like Kamala and Trump are just head to head, and it's hysterical. People have loved it, and it just brings some levity to this current madness. And who knows if we're going to get a real debate from those two. But MAGA Meme Coin Project, please follow along. We've donated thousands to veterans already from this project. That's why I've affiliated with them. It's for a great cause. And it's a lot of laughs. And Harrison, if you can catch it, I'm sure you'll love it. You'll share some clips from it. But yeah, it's went from like laughing like her, copying her speeches. Now, I made the character my own, and now I'm debating like the best Trump impressionists in the country. So it's great. It's been a wild ride.
That is amazing. So of course we'll be able to find it if they follow you on X at MommyRN88. The September 2nd is MAGA Meme Coin?
September 12th.
Oh, I'm sorry, September 12th. Okay, September 12th. Yes. A big debate, MAGA Meme Coin. And
8 p.m. guys. Yeah, 8 p.m. It's gonna be phenomenal. It's gonna be incredible.
I'm looking very forward to that. And no, all I was going to say was that, when you hear Kamala talk, it's almost hard to to come up with statements as sort of nonsensical as hers. Like when you try to come up with something nonsensical, it's harder than just, copying her verbatim when she's talking about the duality of something. It's like, that's not a duality. It's hard to.
At this point, I'm making the stuff up. Yeah, if I'm being honest, and sometimes I'll get lost, right? Like on the lives, and I have recovered so beautifully, either with the cackle or with just saying something. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense. That's the character. So it's been a very interesting ride for sure. And yeah, she just keeps saying all these nonsensical things. And then when she tries to get serious, I find it even more funny because she says all these things. Like last night on the DNC speech, she said about the cartel and all these things that she did. I'm like, what are you talking about? You've talked about you've never even been to the border. You haven't been to Europe. Then you guys tried to retract the whole borders are thing, and now you're on here again talking about how you put away the cartel. Your entire record as a prosecutor was a disaster. Tulsi Gabbard destroyed you in 2019, and I'm going to be that one person that's going to sit here and remind everyone of that. And I'm also going to remind people of how she freaking got here in the first place. These are the most ingenuine people. It actually pissed me off that I saw so many American flags last night in attendance. It's complete bullshit. I'm sorry. You have not had one flag this entire time. You have been the most unpatriotic things. You have been the most divisive party. And now all of a sudden you guys are all star-spangled awesome. Give me a break, Kamala Harris. Give me a break. No one's buying it. Okay, you can sit here and have MSM cut off these clips, and you can act all American, and you can have Tim's kid cry for optics. It doesn't matter. The American people are not buying it. And I'm sorry to go Alex Jones on you, but that is how strongly I feel about this. And
I'm right there with you.
I'm genuinely nauseous sometimes just doing her impression, but roasting her helps. So at this point, it's like therapy for me. I get to kind of do the voice, but I attack it with my own version of what I think she's really telling people. And I don't think I missed one yet. So.
Humor is like the secret weapon in this information war, and you are a battery unto yourself. Mommy RN88 on X and YouTube. Switch to America with SD.com to support SD Pal T. Thank you for joining us.